Senator, thank you for having met with me and for that question. I think as I teach at MIT on these subjects, that these innovations have been a catalyst for change. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have brought new thinking to payments and financial inclusion, but they've also raised new issues of investor protection that we still need to attend to. And so I think if confirmed at the SEC, I'd work with fellow commissioners to both promote the new innovation, but also at the core, ensure for investor protection. If something were a security, for instance, it comes under the securities laws, it comes under the SEC.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Software Engineer K, and fun fact, I actually used to work in the financial markets. I used to work for a company called Bloomberg. Some of you may have heard of it. So today we're going to be going through Gary Gensler's nomination hearing, so March the 2nd. So I've got a transcript here, and I'm just going to be cherry picking some points and just going through some general themes and adding some context to it, just to give you guys a much better overview and background and just what we can expect next moving forwards with the XRP Ripple lawsuit. So Gary Gensler, he falls under the basket of what I would describe as very traditional thinking economists. So his idea of, tighter regulation leads to greater investor confidence, which leads to most prosperous markets. And he's kind of reiterated that sentiment on multiple occasions. Even in here, we can kind of pick out those points as well. He talks about how he spent his entire professional career in the financial markets and the private sector, and he believes that the US has the finest markets in the world, and that's due to the regulation that they have in place. And he says that this didn't happen through happenstance. In the shadow of the Great Depression, Congress created the SEC to protect investors, and this is a theme I'm going to be constantly reiterating as well: protection of investors, to maintain fair, orderly, efficient markets and to facilitate capital formation. Now, where Gary Gensler fits into place is what we currently have with the lack of regulation in the crypto space, and the SEC has had to go after multiple distributors of unregulated tokens. There's been multiple exit schemes. We had probably the most prolific one, BitConnect, with how the SEC went after them. And right now we're going through this this explosion of tokens that have been distributed, and then the distributors would raise funds and then perform an exit scheme, or what a lot of people describe as getting rug pulled. And Binance Smart Chain is exactly a very, very good example of what used to happen. So right now we're having and this, I'm going to leave this for a separate video and just explain how to avoid this happening to you. But there have been a lot of forks of Binance Smart Chain tokens such as PancakeSwap, and people have been creating these clones, setting the APR to ridiculous levels to entice investors, and then getting them to donate however much BNB, and then essentially just running off with it. And that's exactly why the SEC exists, to prevent that from happening and protecting those investors. And this is what Gary Gensler is going to be pushing for. So I know that he's going to be definitely pushing for much tighter regulations with exchanges, partly on the front of protecting investors and partly on the front of protecting the economy, because like I said before, there are quite a lot of grey areas when it comes to taxation as well. I'm pretty confident they are going to start to stamp down on taxes with cryptocurrencies, and using exchanges as a way to gather data using the KYC that retail investors provide, and using that as a way to kind of track taxation. They've already kind of started doing that. We know that a lot of governments, not just in the US, have started approaching exchanges and getting that KYC information. I believe for the last 3 years they've asked exchanges for it, and I'm not sure if all exchanges have complied, but it depends on a country to country basis. But as we move forward, so here's a very, very interesting point. This is what I really want to reiterate is, when there is fail to wrongdoing, so for example, allowing these unregulated markets, people to kind of go about taking advantage of investors, there's lack of protection there. Or when we fail to adapt to new technologies and not understand novel financial instruments. So novel financial instruments would, in this case, would be cryptocurrencies. Then he says things can go very wrong. So he's not just talking about the lack of protection of investors, but also the lack of adopting to these new technologies. And this is where Gary Gensler is different when it comes to the current acting head. Is he is more open to change, and he has shown, he's demonstrated that he has a solid understanding of where blockchain technology can be leveraged, how cryptocurrencies can be used to not only help provide more regulation to financial markets, but also to just provide greater ways of access into the markets as well for retail investors. But he knows that the US has the potential to be essentially on the top of the world when it comes to the economy if they leverage cryptocurrencies correctly. And he also is aware that Ripple, they do have other options. It has been rumored that they could move to Japan, and I'm not one to speculate too much, but just a quick interesting fact that I found. So if we go to Gary Gensler's page, if we have a look at his early career, now generally a lot of mistakes tend to happen when people have a lack of understanding and what I would describe as blind patriotism. Gary Gensler, he coincidentally subsequently made transition to trading and finance in Tokyo, where he directed the firm's fixed income and currency trading. So he has experience of working in Japan. He understands, the political and economic factors that kind of tie into that. So he knows, just how much of an advantage or how much of a disadvantage the US would be put at if they lost the platform of using Ripple as their kind of key to this increasing regulation within the cryptocurrency market. And he is aware that losing that would be definitely not doing the US any favors. So I am confident that he too is going to want to kind of push for settlement. But now the key point is he is very, very pro when it comes to protecting retail investors, and he is aware that retail investors who bought on the secondary market, they never bought directly from Ripple, therefore they do not have a direct investment contract with Ripple. Those are the retail investors he wants to protect, and he knows, he's not stupid. He knows that they're the ones who are going to be suffering, and they're the ones who are suffering due to this lawsuit that was put in by Clayton right before he left. Although he has said that he regarded Ripple's XRP as a security in the past, he did also go out and state following that just because something is treated as a security back in the past, it doesn't mean today it is a security. It can very well be a cryptocurrency or a currency as its use case evolves. And lastly, I'm just kind of going through back here. So, he's talked about how that there are economic opportunities available when it comes to these novel assets, and we can't take any of this for granted. Markets and technology are always changing. He's talked a lot about adapting to change and protecting retail investors, and to me these are kind of like I would say slight hints on what his approach is going to be. Now if we go to the XRP Ledger's homepage, something that I found quite funny is they actually have a warning here: ICOs may be regulated as securities in the USA. But they've also spoken about, how the ledger can be used for ICOs, for example, issuing your own currency. And I believe because because Ripple already has the infrastructure in place with all of their partnerships, it provides the perfect platform for the XRP, for the SEC to work with and push for that greater regulation. And for me, that's just another point where I believe Gary Gensler is going to want to push for, because he has stated multiple times that he wants to protect retail investors and also adapt to novel assets and not miss out on this transition to newer technology. So that being said, I don't want to speculate too much, but everything that I've seen today, it has all been very, very positive for Ripple. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and like I said, next video I'll be talking more about Binance Smart Chain and the different forks that have been occurring, but I will leave that till next time. So catch you then. See ya.